Okay, so since the last video I uploaded, I decided to kind of come on here tonight, finish up with this little wing part of these cardinals we've been working on. We did a certain step with two of them in the last video, and we've got this one to come on now, where we've kind of got little ways to come along on that step where we carve in the wings a little bit. You know, I say that I'll tell y'all a little bit about my cafeteria experience today. You know, there's always just some things that can kind of take a little getting used to here and there, and you know, we kind of learn little personalities are going to come along in life, and we learn a little bit more about how people go, how they operate. Sometimes we kind of get away from the old stuff and come to the new, and I'd say it's been a good experience for me. I can pretty much always find something to do in there. You know, better than how it was at the one where I worked in the past, like how it's a little closer to the McLeod's coffee shop there. Think that things are going to change a little bit in my world here and there, and I say that with little experiences as having some things, I'd like to say that, you know, there's some places I kind of miss going at night. Some people I kind of miss seeing, and it's not so much in old workplaces, but I'd probably say for sure that whenever it comes to some of these restaurants where sometimes I can go and get away, there's been little movies I've been out to see at night, and I'd say sometimes for me, there comes little times in my life when I won't do as much driving at night as I will at other times, because I kind of have to be in and be safe. 43 years old going on 44, it's kind of like a little time when we've all got to keep ourselves safe and keep ourselves free from a little harm now and then, and take care of what we know, what we do. Oh, little work, I say that this kind of time shall make it through in our lives. And you know, little communities online have been good places for me here and there. I always like to kind of share my old stuff and my new stuff. There's a few people with whom I've shared my old Reverb Nation page, and it's on my Linktree page. These days I don't record music like I used to, and there's just kind of a lot of good reasons why. Kind of felt like there comes little times in our lives when our callings kind of change a little bit. We find out what our real gifts are, and you know, that's kind of the thing as how it was here when it came a little bit time to kind of move on to different hobbies, different crafts, and how it goes with all this wood. Oh, and I tell you, you know, it's always good how you put little things in your search engine feed, and oh, I tell you all, it's like the little things we put in just as a little search bar, and oh, I'll tell you all the little interesting things we learn and find out about people, and that becomes all the more reason why you start following their pages, get into their groups, and start, you know, getting into their chats and things. So that's how it was for me, is how I met some people online, how I got in touch with them and sharing good things with them. I say as far as this little bird comes along, this is how we go about it. And we've got another set of wings to do, one more set of wings here. And there's little things. Oh, and I tell y'all that seen a lot of cool taxidermy on Etsy, and you know, sometimes all you can really do at a moment is just favorite the stuff, just to kind of show people you support their business, and probably that you support the fact that anything you've wanted all your life you couldn't always get. It's like you can go online to buy it these days. Never been the type of person to hunt or let alone travel overseas to do it, but always wanted trophies all my life. So these days I find places on Etsy where I can go to buy them, and they show up in good ways. I mean, they can get pretty expensive at times, but I mean, it's almost like having the real animal for yourself. And a lot of these creatures, I'd say, if they were living, they'd be a lot of work to take care of. They'd be a lot of trouble here and there. They'd be the kind of creatures that couldn't just stay in a cage to take out whenever you want. Kind of creatures that if they're alive, they're either going to be handled or they're not going to be handled. So it's just kind of the way we do with them these days. And oh, I tell y'all, all the times when I've rescued creatures out of stores and built hutches for them that I've kept in the basement just to kind of get them out of certain environments where it seemed like they were not getting enough space or something. So I built them bigger spaces down in the basement where I kept them in hutches. Once I did that with a blue-tongued skink. It was a skink that had already languished, probably because it hadn't been held much when it was a baby. It was not an adult, it was still fairly juvenile, but I say, you know, that they get all these little mean creatures in those stores, and once or twice we kind of get them into our homes and care for them, and I'd say I could only provide temporary care for some things, but eventually one day I found a rescue that was willing to take that little blue-tongued skink and took it right to her, and you know, she just gave it a new home, gave it to her mother who she knew would spoil it. And as you know, there's just about anything you can buy off the internet these days. There wasn't much place when I was a kid where you could go to buy furs and pelts and trophies and things like that, but people sell them online these days. And I mean, if I'm in a state where I can afford something like that, I'll buy it and try to see, first of all, how I can make a little space in my bedroom for it. Mom wouldn't have it anywhere in the house other than that, so that's kind of how I space things out a little bit. Little places where we go, little things we do. I say that it's just, of all things, even made some more recent pillow pelts out of, pelt pillows that is, out of my coyote and my red fox, and sometimes even just kind of take them where I snug them up in the bed, kind of like some people do with their real cats and their real dogs, but or even with their domestic ones that are living. And here in the United States, you cannot legally sell a taxidermy of a domesticated breed of cat or dog, though you can. If your own pet dies, you can have it taxidermed as your own trophy, though, or for yourself, that is. But lots of times these days, you know, people don't really like to do that. Most people can tell you that they had a little taxidermy mounting of their pet after it died. It would just give them little sad reminders if it just sat around in places. So that's just kind of how that kind of thing works. I'd like to share little things we're doing along these lines here, and of all little things we work upon now, I'll say that it looks like here we can get up to the upper side of the tail with the knife, and then it's where it's like, as I say, one of those things I haven't carved very much in life. Not had quite as much practice or experience with this as I did with some other things, but as you see here, we kind of, it says to initiate the cut from the opposite direction, and so we're kind of taking it little steps by steps, and how we go about this little work of art we do. I say this little cardinal just shall make a way, come down to us, see a little light in what we have and what we do. I say that we kind of make it go its own little separate way, I say. And so it's going to come down to where we're going to trim the tail a little bit, make it so it's going to be a little rounder and thinner on the top, like it needs a little bit to be, and so make it down to where the size is just going to matter right off, I say. And then we all kind of come down to where we're going to see a great little line shattering itself, making itself to where we're going to kind of put it down and then kind of shine it up, round it up, get a little rounding off of the tail here to make it so it's going to be thin. And we don't really do the part they suggest in the book where you kind of round it out from underneath, hollow it out from underneath. That kind of gets to be a lot of work for me here and there. But I think I'm going to try to take this same little step on this other one as well. Try to kind of put a little line into it to make it so it's going to come its own little special way, I say, and then come down to where these little lines are going to oppose their directions to each other, make it so little cardinal can be a little brighter ways. And then, of all things, I say, got little stories to tell about a certain Starbucks I was in this summer, where there was a little cardinal that just kind of stood by the window. It kept flying up and charging at the window like it couldn't really see that the glass was there, and it kept trying to probably break through the glass, trying to fly in, because it couldn't realize it was glass and that was what was blocking the way. So couldn't let alone understand our language, and why it couldn't understand what it was doing. But it would often be there, and it would often be trying to fly in, and like we say, making its little noise as it just charges itself at the glass in the window. And it's almost like how my grandmother had these two little ceramic birds. When I was a kid, I used to ask her a lot of questions about them, and you know what she used to tell me was that they flew through the window and turned into glass. It's little strange things like that can happen, but it all goes a little ways, makes it all so we all see little brighter nights and brighter days, and oh, the ways it kind of makes us see light coming our ways, and oh, the things we see that we always just kind of work our own little ways through, and like, as for this little test, we go a little further ways. I say that maybe we might make this video a little bit longer here. Might try to take this little step of the tail on each one here. And like, see here, we kind of got the edges trimmed now. And there'd be a lot of interesting stuff we'd be talking about when I would meet with that guild over at McConnell Springs and stuff, and there'd be little random things we'd talk about, and sometimes, it'd be any strange little topic like politics or whatever, and we had a certain man in the group telling us that he didn't think we should be talking about politics in the group, thinking it was just not a good subject for an open group with knives. I say, it's just one of those things where it gets to be a hard, hot topic, and gets to be a topic that we don't see much about, and then come down to where we put a little work in all the things we're doing these days. And I say that there's a lot of topics these days, politics, religion, and things, we kind of put a little more to the side these days. There are some beliefs I have, there are some views I have, but we all try to kind of live in a world where we all try to respect each other despite our different views. I don't really share my views much because I'm conservative, and probably a lot of people don't see from the same side I do, but I'd tell y'all that this is just something where everybody has an opinion in life. They sometimes think that conservative views are done out of fear and all, but I say we don't have to worry about that too much. We're going to get down to this last little tail here, and then we're going to end the video now. And this is just one little step we'll take. I did make this video of the series a little bit longer than a few previous ones in this series, but that's all for the good, and it's all going to be okay, and it's all going to last in the long run. The longer we see it, the longer we stay with it, the more we're going to know about what we're doing and what we're seeing and what we're saying. I tell y'all that this little time in our lives, we got a little work done our way. I say this is just the way it's going to be when we get down to the work that it comes down to doing. And finally, we kind of got to where we get the feathers in, and feathers are going to come later on. And when I was a kid, it was always strange how I learned as a kid in the first grade in class that birds have feathers and that's why they can fly. And I tell you, I used to wish as a kid that I could have feathers so that I could get up and fly over the street so it could be a little safer for me to cross, because never did like to look both ways. And little bitty problem was just the fact that once or twice I would almost get hit while trying to cross the street, and I'd say it was always just shame and pain and all the things we didn't know about when we were kids, and all the things we kind of had our little doubts about and misunderstandings of. And so it's just going to be a little work we take, a little work we do, try to work our way along it and make the little tail thin out and curve out, and see how we're going to do with it when it all comes down to what it ought to be, like we finally did with this one here. and do think it's kind of about time to come to an end. So thank you for watching and take care.